it can be quite hard to know what to put in your gym bag. When you're starting MMA, you don't know what to buy and what not to buy. In this video, I'm going to go through in order what I think the most important pieces of equipment is to have when going to a gym or starting MMA as a hobby or even a career. The most important piece of equipment, I believe, is boxing gloves. I say this over MMA gloves because this is how I started, and I will give my clients boxing gloves to wear when they first start as well, to get used to punching because their wrist strength isn't conditioned, and to get used to punches coming towards their face. Because when it's a smaller fist, which an MMA glove is, sometimes mentally it can have a little bit of a difference. And even though you say it doesn't, it still does, because your blink reflex is a lot worse. Having bigger gloves allows you to defend a lot easier because you've got a bigger surface area to defend. And that is why I am a big believer in starting with boxing gloves, even if you're doing it for MMA. And that is going to be 60 an ounce. The reason I say that size is because you could get a 10-ounce pair and 4 weeks down the line, you're ready for sparring. You're going to have to get a new pair of gloves just so you can spar. And another thing with boxing gloves, if you get them cheap, you'll pay twice. You want to look how much you want to invest into it. If you get a pair of Sports Direct's ones for £20, they're not going to last very long. If you get a pair of Rivals at £90, they're going to last you a good amount of time because they are better quality, so you get what you pay for. The next one is shin pads. And for your shin pads, I recommend no sock shin pads. All the other ones are okay, but do not get sock ones. They are very thin and there is not much protection. If you kick someone, it's going to hurt you, so stay away from those sock shin pads. Now after that, I'm going to say wraps. Wraps are very important for your hands. These are your weapons. You have two. If you break your hand, eventually you're not going to be able to punch with that hand, and that could, if you're doing it for a career, it could take you out of the sport. So you want to protect these knuckles and these wrists. They're the most important thing for your fighting career. So wrap them, take the time, 10 minutes before a session to protect your weapons. I didn't wrap them personally for the first year, and after a little bit I started building up a lot of damage on my knuckles, and then it's hard to recover when you are punching every single day. So do yourself a favour and wrap your hands. After that, we're going to go with MMA gloves. For these, we're going to go 7-ounce. 7-ounce are the sparring style of MMA gloves. You do not need pro MMA gloves. You might see it on TV, but there's no point buying 4-ounce MMA gloves until you are pretty close to going pro. Because even if you fight amateur, you are going to fight in the 6-ounce gloves. Ideally, you want 7-ounce ones for the sparring, but they're either going to be 6 or 7. Now, after that, we need some sort of protection. We're going to go with a gum shield. Protect these gnashers. We don't want to have to go to Turkey. And I would personally recommend doing this every single session. Wear a gum shield every session for drills, for sparring, for light sparring, and for hard sparring, and even just moving around. Because number one, we've got to get used to wearing a gum shield. And number two, you can still chip your teeth from drills just as much as you can from sparring. I remember doing a PT for a client. I didn't put a gum shield in because obviously my level and my ability was a lot higher than theirs. I didn't think I needed one. I put my hands up, allowed them to hit me. They hit my hands, it hit my face, I bit my tooth on my bottom tooth, chipped my tooth, and that was all from a PT. So even when you're going light, I'd recommend wearing a gum shield. I would also recommend a groin guard. You don't want to get hit in the groinal area. Protect your crown jewels and make sure you can still have babies after your career is done. Now after that, I would also recommend some tape, because you're going to get blisters on your feet from the mat, guaranteed. I get this every time I go to a new gym, and I go to a new mat and it's a little bit of a different texture on the floor. I get blisters, sometimes blood blisters, and they actually become really, really sore. Gonna get some tape like this. This can be used for your feet. If you have any injuries with your hands or cuts, you can wrap it up. If you start bleeding when you are rolling, you can use that. Or if you've got bad knuckles from gripping when you're rolling, you can wear that tape as well. So the tape is a very good one. And as well as that, obviously, bring a water bottle, because you're gonna get very, very tired, so make sure you hydrate. And they're really, I'd say, the essentials when you are starting MMA. First off, it would be these. Once you start going into a bit of a higher intense environment, then start getting your gum shield, groin guard, and your tape. And a water bottle, that is obviously an essential as well. Once you're more experienced, you can then start getting your different sort of boxing gloves. You could get your 10 ounce, you could go 10s, 12s or 14s as well. I personally have a 10 and I have a 14 and then a 16 as well. I spar in the 16s, I'll hit the bags with 14s and then I will hit pads with 10s. And then sometimes I'll hit my pads with my Pro MMA gloves as well. But that is the kit bag that I recommend for all you newbies. I'll see you in the next one. Bish, bash, bosh, pow!